All right, everybody, out of respect to, we have a quorum, and out of respect to those who have been on time, I would like to go ahead and please proceed with our April regular council meeting. Yanis, are you ready? Christia, Norman, we're all ready to go? Okay, perfect. Dwight, Kyle, ready to go? All right, perfect. Perfect. Thank you for being here this evening. It is 7:07, and I would like to call our virtual regular council meeting on April 28th at 7:07 p.m. to order. At this time, before I ask for a moment of silent meditation and pledge of allegiance, I want to go ahead and read the rules of tonight's meeting. Pursuant to Executive Order number 2069 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by section 120.54 Florida statute. Procedures for the public comment will be explained by the village attorney shortly. The members of the village council appearing remotely for this meeting are Vice Mayor Omar Nickerson, Councilperson Vamari Roman, Councilperson Anders Urban, Councilperson Louis Perella, and myself, Claudia Cabillas, the mayor. You also have present the village manager, Christia Alou, Chief of Police, David Magnuson, our village clerk, Yanis Jacoby, and the interim village attorney, Norman Powell, are also appearing remotely this evening. As usual, the meeting will be open with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. At this moment, I would like to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, if I can please have the Pledge of Allegiance, I've asked the clerk to please put a flag on her screen so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, if I can please have the village attorney, please state the procedures to be followed during this meeting.
Yes. On March 20th, 2020, Governor Ron DeSantis issued Executive Order number 20-69 relating to local government public meetings. The governor's executive order suspends current laws that require a quorum to be present in person and that a local governmental body may meet in a specific public place. It authorizes local governmental bodies to use communication media technology, CMTs, such as telephonic and video conferencing as provided in section 120.54B2 of the Florida statutes. Further, chapter 28-109 entitled Conducting Proceedings by Communications Media Technology of the Florida Administrative Code provides guidelines for the procedures to be followed to conduct a proceeding by means of communications media technology or to provide access to a proceeding by use of a CMT. The governor's order does not waive any other requirement under the Florida Constitution and Florida's Government and the Sunshine Laws. The village is using Zoom to hold this virtual council meeting. The Zoom platform does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Zoom is a cloud-based platform for video and audio audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. Public comment will occur as they always do at the council meetings and committee meetings during good and welfare, and after each agenda item prior to the council's voting. When the mayor opens the meeting for public comment, anyone wishing to participate will have 3 minutes to speak. To answer a few questions, how will the resident be recognized to speak in the Zoom platform or application? If you are using a mobile device, click the raise hand on the button. If you're using your computer or personal computer, click on the icon participants in the bottom of your screen. You will see the option to raise your hand. There are also 2 ways to view the meeting on your screen. One is a gallery view and the second is a speaker view. The gallery view allows you to view all or most participants at the same time on your screen. In speaker view, whoever is speaking will be viewed front and center on your screen, while other participants will be on the top in smaller squares or tiles. Please make sure to mute microphones when not speaking. If possible, use headphones to mitigate sound feedback. When addressing the village council, please first state your name and then your home address. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the village council prior to any action taken. Everyone participating in this virtual meeting is required to maintain decorum. No clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks shall be permitted. No signs or placards shall be allowed. No person other than the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a member of the council without permission of the mayor. No questions shall be asked of a council member except through the mayor. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous, rowdy, disruptive, or making personal comments without addressing the council shall be barred from further participation in this virtual meeting by the mayor. If at any time during the virtual public meeting, the ability of the public to listen or participate is interrupted due to a technical problem, the meeting shall be immediately paused during such time and will resume when the technical problem is corrected. The village has published an agenda as well as included in the notice to the public pursuant to our village code and the items and topics that will be discussed at this virtual meeting. Additionally, the public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during the meeting. Section 286.0114, subsection 4C of the Florida statutes specifically authorizes the village to prescribe procedures or forms for an individual to use in order to inform the council of a desire to be heard, to indicate his or her support, opposition, or neutrality on a proposition. The village has provided a procedure to indicate, among other things, support, opposition, and neutrality on items and topics to be discussed at this virtual council meeting. Mayor and council members, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth and these uniform rules of procedures which I've established for this virtual meeting?
Yes.
Please respond. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't think I heard the other 3 respond. Can I hear?
Yes.
Can I?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys hear me?
Thank you. At this time, Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call. Mayor Cubillos.
Here.
Vice Mayor Nickerson. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Councilperson Pereira.
Here.
Councilperson Urban.
Here.
Councilperson Roman.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Cristia Lu, Village Manager, Norman Powell, Interim Village Attorney, and Chief Magnuson.
Perfect, thank you. And welcome to all of the residents and the applicants who are with us also this evening. Before I ask for a motion of approval of the agenda, I am going to add one resolution to the end. It'll be Resolution 2020-13, and it's a resolution on, let me get the exact wording. On, Norman, do you have the name of the resolution? Is it reemployment assistance? Eunice, do you have the name of the resolution in front of you?
Yes, the title of the resolution is a resolution supporting the Miami-Dade County delegation concerning reapplication benefits retroactively. That's just the general title of it, but I can read the entire title if you want that read.
I don't know if it's
I just gave
necessary.
a
I know
summary.
the, yeah.
It's
I'd like to
a
go
resolution
ahead and-
dealing with. It's a resolution dealing with reapplication.
Unemployment, it retroactives the date of the unemployment to the date of the state of emergency of Florida as to the date that the applicant is applying for it. That's the resolution. I'd like to make a motion to add this resolution to the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Okay, so there's been a motion. I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda, adding resolution 2020-13, and we will put that after the skate park. So it'll be I-7. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of I-7 resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, Madam Mayor.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Who's a second by?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Roman. All in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, the agenda for this evening, April 28th, passes with the addition of resolution 2020-13, item number I-7. At this time, if I can please have a motion to approve the minutes from March 31st. Is there a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Motion been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Urban. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, the motion for the minutes from March 31st is now approved and we posted on the website. At this time, we have the only acknowledgement of visitors, a special presentation is, I want to welcome every resident who is on this evening. I want to welcome the applicants who are also here this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will try to make this as informative and as brief as possible, but we thank you all for taking the time to join us on this virtual regular council meeting. At this time, we are going to go to good and welfare. If you have any comments that you would like to make from the attendees, please take the time to raise your hand, which is the button on the bottom of your iPhone, or as well as on the bottom of the screen as the attorney briefed us earlier on. Seeing that there's no hands raised, I believe. Okay, we're gonna go right into, seeing that there's no hands raised on the attendees, we're gonna go right into the agenda. We're starting off first with an ordinance. The next three ordinances all have to do with the development agreement for the Cavista. This is the second reading for all of these ordinances. One of them has been slightly modified to add comments that were made at the December council meeting. For those that were not with us and are joining us for the first time, all of these ordinances were not only passed the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting in November of 2019, but they also have passed the first hearing in the December council meeting. So this is the second reading for these ordinances. I'm going to ask the attorney to please read ordinance 2019-06, which is to establish the Public Benefits Trust Fund for the Cavista.
An ordinance of the Mayor and Village Council of El Portal, Florida, amending Article 8, Public Benefits Program to provide for the establishment of a Public Benefits Trust Fund providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflicts, repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date.
Norman, can you give a little background on the ordinance, please?
Yes, generally, the ordinance is designed to create a public benefits trust fund because the village currently does not have a mechanism to receive development fees to utilize for particular purposes designed in the ordinance. Our first meeting, we had a discussion, well, several meetings, we had discussions concerning what would be the use of the public benefit funds that will be received from the developer. And section A1 has been modified to delete any reference to capital expenditures relating to public safety and the like. So it's you'll see in the language, it now reads that the funds shall only be used to support the acquisition of land for parks and open space reinvestment and capital improvements to existing parks and open space, tree planting, and capital expenditures for landscaping within the village boundaries.
Okay, thank you. Before I ask for a motion for the approval of this second reading, is there a question or a comment from the council to either the attorney or to the manager?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a question. I noticed, and I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, but I noticed that on the development agreement, the clause doesn't actually match what our ordinance has. So I'd like for it to match exactly verbatim.
Yes, if I can respond, Madam Mayor. Yes, as we discussed, Councilwoman Roman, the development agreement and negotiation came first. And so now we're at the end in approving the ordinance, which will specifically state what the legislative will of the council will be. So the agreement in its final executed version will mirror the language that's provided for in section A1, section 24B.215.5 A1, limiting the use of the developer development fee funds.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's two sections of the agreement that currently do not have it. So that would be D in page 2. And on page 3 at the top, part of H. These are the two sections that I like to see changed.
Yes. All right, so just to complete the thought, since we're going to get to the development agreement in the next two items, once the agreement is presented, if there's a motion to approve the agreement, certainly that motion needs to just include in it that the motion shall be amended to reflect that it's the developer fee funds will be used and mirror the language in the ordinance that will hopefully be adopted in the next vote.
So Norman, so what you're saying is if this ordinance were to pass this evening, when we go to 2019-08, which that's for the development agreement, that's when the development agreement needs to be amended?
Correct. It'll be amended simply by the resolution, the motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the execution of the agreement.
You mean the ordinance, not the resolution?
Right, I'm sorry, the motion to adopt the ordinance, correct, would just simply state that the sections that Councilwoman Roman just referred to will be amended to reflect language that's consistent with the Public Benefits Trust Fund ordinance.
Okay, and for purposes of those who are following with the agenda, we are talking about section A #1, and that is the section, section 2A1, correct?
Section 24-B.221.5A subsection 1. It's on page 2 of the proposed ordinance in the agenda package. So it's the very first paragraph.
Yeah, I know, but it's also section 2A1. But yeah, for the ordinance, of the actual Muni code is section 24B.21.5.
Correct.
So-
Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse that. Correct.
All right. Any questions? Councilperson Roman, does that answer your question? Or your concern or
Yes,
your,
it does. Thank you.
any other comments from the council?
I actually have the same question, but I was thinking it would probably be addressed as we got to the subsequent items. But I'm comfortable as long as we're saying that the language in this first section that we're encountering will be essentially the master language and duplicated, copied, what have you, verbatim into the next sections. If that's what we're saying, then I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
Yeah, so from what I'm gathering, Norman, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Councilperson Roman has asked that section 2A1, that paragraph that's underlined, it needs to be matched in the development agreement, which is going to be part of the ordinance 08.
Correct.
That language has development agreement.
Correct.
But, and that would be changed and redrafted to match it correctly before it's signed.
Right. Correct. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Any other questions for 2019-06? Okay, hearing none, before I open up to any public comments, is there a motion to adopt 2019-06?
I'll make a motion to adopt 2019-06.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Urban. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Roman. I'll open it up briefly for public comments. Anybody who's currently here as an attendee has any questions or comments or concerns with 2019-06? Just raise your hand. I believe we have Courtney. If we can unmute him and allow him to speak.
Thank you very much. Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th Street. Very much in favor of this. I like the way it's been tightened up and that the language ensures that it's only going to be used for parks and open space, just as if the applicant actually provided open space. So I think it's very important that the additional language that was recently added is included. So I'd like to thank the council for that.
Hey, Courtney, thank you. Thank you. Did you state your name and address for the record?
I did.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. Sorry, anybody else with their hands raised? Hearing none, I'm going to close public comments and open it up back to the council. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call for ordinance 2019-06?
Roll call. Councilperson Perrella. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
If I can please have, thank you. If I can please have the village attorney guide us and read the title of 2019-07.
Yes, 2019-07 is an ordinance of the Mayor and Village Council of El Patel, Florida, amending Article 8 Public Benefits Program, Section 24-B.21 to provide for trust fund contribution to Public Benefits Trust Fund, providing for incorporation recitals, providing for conflicts, repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date. Specifically, what this does is it allows for the village manager to recommend a cash contribution to a public benefits trust fund in lieu of providing open space or park space, and based upon her recommendations. So that's basically what this is doing. It's actually creating the vehicle to now accept the funds.
Thank you, Norman. Is there any questions or comments to the attorney or to the manager on this ordinance from the council?
Yes, I suppose that the recommendation will come with, is it based on any appraisals, any third parties, like advising of what, funds should be, or is a description of just the village manager to like, this is what?
Yes, Councilman Perrella, in section 3, that would be, it specifies the criteria by which the village manager has to make his or her determination. And it specifically states the cash contribution shall be determined based on the market value of the per square foot price charged for units at similar projects within the market area where the proposed project is applying for the bonus height density located in the village.
Okay. Thanks.
Councilperson Perrella, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Juan, did you want to add anything? Christia, did you want to add anything? No? I apologize. Is there a motion to adopt 2019-07?
Yes.
Motion's been made by, was that Councilperson Perrella?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Urba. I'll open it up to the attendees. Any public comments on 2019-07 on the motion on the table? I don't think I see any hands raised. Do you, Eunice? No, right? Seeing none, seeing that there's no hands raised and no public comments for this item, may I please ask for a roll call?
Roll call. Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Moving to ordinance 2019-08. If I can please have the attorney read the title into the record.
An ordinance of the mayor and village council of El Portal, Florida, approving and authorizing the mayor and village manager to execute and to otherwise enter into a development agreement between the village of El Portal and BH 495 Northeast 83rd Street LLC for the development of property located within the village as recorded in official records book 28751, pages 808 through 809, and official records book 28673, pages 4489-4491 of the public records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, and as more fully described in the development agreement, which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, authorizing the appropriate village officials to do all things necessary to effectuate the intent of this ordinance, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Norman, you want to give some background on this last one, on this last ordinance?
Okay, this last ordinance is basically a development agreement which was negotiated through the village manager's office with the developer to develop the project that'll be presented shortly. It discusses, as we've talked about before, the developer's obligation to pay the village a development fee. The uses for those fees will be outlined in the trust fund ordinance that has just been passed, and the agreement will be amended to reflect the same. And it'll become effective in terms of the payment responsibility upon all the parties' execution of the development agreement.
Does the council have any questions for the manager or the attorney on 2019-08?
Just a reminder that we will amend the agreement, the developer agreement.
Any other questions or comments for the attorney or manager? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt 2019-08 with the correction on the development agreement per Councilperson Roman?
Motion.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open it up for the public. Anybody in the attendees would like to make a comment, question, or concern on 2019-08? This is the adoption of the Courtney. I saw your hand go up, Courtney. That's funny. This is the adoption of the development agreement. Courtney has a question, Kyle?
Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th Street. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've seen this already, and I think the applicant put together a very nice presentation on an improvement to a property. It is nearer to Biscayne, and therefore the additional height is certainly less impactful to most residents who are currently in the village, certainly the single-family homes that comprise the majority of the village. I believe that the compensation to the village is reasonable, and I certainly hope this will be a good long-term addition to the village, increasing our tax base and hopefully allowing us to add additional police officers, et cetera, as we may need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else as attendee that has a public comment on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, congratulations, Arthur and Ken. Now I would like the attorney to please read into the record for the next two resolutions. It is a quasi judicial hearing, and I need him to read some rules into the record, please.
Thank you. This is an announcement regarding quasi judicial proceedings. Florida courts have determined that there are certain types of matters, including the following applications, which are to be treated differently than other issues considered by the village council. Most decisions of the council are legislative in nature, which means that the council is acting as a policy-making body. In contrast, in quasi-judicial matters, the council is applying existing rules and policies to a factual situation, is therefore acting like a judge or jury in a courtroom. In such cases, the courts have decided that due process and fundamental fairness requires that more formal procedures be followed. The Village of El Portal procedures for quasi-judicial hearings are as follows. Anyone who wishes to speak shall be collectively sworn in by the village clerk. The hearing shall be conducted in an informal manner. I will read the title of the item to be considered. Village staff shall present a brief synopsis of the application and make a recommendation. Next, there will be a presentation by the applicant. The council will then hear from the participants in favor of and in opposition to the application. All witnesses are subject to cross-examination by the village staff, council, and the applicant. A participant may request that the village council ask questions of a witness. The applicant and staff may make concluding remarks. No further presentation or testimony shall be permitted, and the public hearing shall be closed. All decisions of the council must be based on competent and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. All backup materials presented at the hearing will automatically become a part of the record. All approval will be subject to staff recommendation conditions unless otherwise stated in the motion for approval. The clerk will now swear, since this is virtual, each witness who will testify will be sworn in individually for each application.
Okay, perfect. At this
With one exception, Madam, the attorneys do not have to be sworn in.
Okay. At this time, we have resolution 2020-10, which is, 2020-09, which is a resolution authorizing a variance for the Cavista with regards to vehicular entrance. So if I can please ask the attorney to read that to the record, and if we can let Ben Fernandez in as well.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I would recommend, with your permission, to read both at the same time, because the special exception, in fact, the variance is a part of the special exception, and it's part of the same application. So either we read 10 first, because it is the exception and it looks at the whole site plan, and then the variance, it's a variance to that site plan, and it's part of the same.
Okay, that makes sense. Norman, can we read both into the record at the same time?
Yes. The first is resolution number 2020-09, a resolution of the Mayor and Village Council of El Portal, Florida, authorizing the approval of the variance for the distance between vehicular entrances to be less than 60 feet at the multifamily housing development located at 471 Northeast 83rd Street in Zone 5, Urban Center Zone in the Village of El Portal, known as the Cavista, on application by BH 495 Northeast 83rd Street LLC, providing for incorporation of recitals and providing for an effective date. The next is resolution 2020-10, a resolution of the Mayor and Village Council of El Portal, Florida, granting a special exception for multifamily housing located at 471 Northeast 83rd Street in Zone 5, Urban Center Zone in the Village of El Portal, known as the Cavista, on application by BH 495 Northeast 83rd Street LLC, providing for findings, providing for conditions, providing for appeal, providing for violation of conditions, providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Norman. We do have Ben Fernandez that has joined us to give us a little background on both resolutions. If you can just give us a brief overview, because it's been a little bit since we've heard, and we have a new member on board as well.
Absolutely. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Mullerat. Ben Fernandez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, here on behalf of the applicants, joined this evening by the Barrington brothers, who are listening intently, and Anna Trinchette, who is our project architect for Modus Architecture. This is a project that, as Mr. Courtney mentioned, is at the southern boundary of the village, across from the city of Miami. It is at the intersection of 83rd Street and Northeast 4th Court, in the annexed area. It is approximately 1.8 acres in size, and it is on a property that has been vacant now for several years. We believe that this is a project that's going to activate the area and bring eyes on the street to the area, and do everything that is anticipated by your comprehensive plan, as well as your form-based codes. The property is zoned Z5, and that is a zoning district that is the most intense district in the village and is intended for mixed-use projects and higher density development. The site plan shows an 8-story project. There's 6 stories that are permitted by right, essentially. We're adding an additional 2 stories under the form-based code by entering into the development agreement that you just approved. This is allowing an increase of approximately 61,000 square feet for 2 additional stories. The project is designed around a very nice pool area and barbecue area, and it's lushly landscaped. It has a total of 282 units with a breakdown of about 58% of them being 1 bedroom, 33% being 2 bedrooms, and 5% being 3 bedrooms. The project complies in every way. It either meets or exceeds your zoning district requirements. In Z5, for instance, the floor area is 315,551 square feet, where up to 410,000 square feet are allowed. The lot coverage is 68%, where up to 80% is allowed, so it's below the maximum lot coverage. The total parking exceeds that required. There are 296 spaces required, and we're providing 349 spaces. And the open space, because the lot coverage is less than what it could be, the open space is 28%, where only 10% is required under the under the zoning district regulations. Maybe I should show you the project. I don't know if I need to share the screen in order to do that. I don't see the share screen option.
I know you spoke a little while ago to Kyle.
Well, yeah. Let me see if I have the share screen option here. Oh, here it is. My apologies.
Bottom.
Can you see that?
Nope.
No?
No.
Well, I don't know why it's not allowing me to share the screen. But while you have the plans in your packages and your staff recommendation.
If I can just interrupt for 1 second, Ben, there. Eunice, I know you're in the office. Is there any way you can share the screen? Or Kyle, I know you spoke earlier to Kyle to help you walk you through sharing the screen. And
yeah, I'm hitting share screen right now, but you don't see anything?
Mm-mm. But he has his camera. You have your camera. Oh, that. Well, okay. I think you're getting there. Now you just have to pick. You've just zoomed onto the screen, so now you've got to either pick the photo that you want to share. It's okay. We can wait. There you go. You're getting there. Now we see your desktop.
Ah.
You're getting there. It's all good.
Now we see that you're a fan of Tiger King.
No. Hold on, you just made me lose the It's gonna take a second. I don't think that you have any projects that have live work units that are opening up right onto the street like this one is doing. So it'll be activating this this corner, which is also a very quiet corner given the fact that Northeast 4th Court presently dead ends and doesn't have much activity. There you go. And that is the rendering of the project. You can see that it's nicely landscaped along the streets. It has an architecture that really flows and we believe is quite attractive. Now, we are requesting one minor deviation from what the code requires, and that has to do with the driveway access on Northeast 4th Court, where you can see the cars entering the project in this rendering. Your code typically requires a separation of 60 feet pursuant to section 24B17(6) between driveways. But that is typically when you have driveways that are providing ingress and egress to the entire project. And this is a condition where we are providing access to the project, and then there's another access for loading. We believe it makes more sense to keep those entrances unified and removed from the corner of Northeast 4th Court and 83rd Street to not interrupt the flow of pedestrian activity near the corner. And so we believe that that deviation from the code is justified given this particular condition, that it is a large corner lot. It is going to be something that is not injurious or harmful or incompatible with the neighborhood. It's going to be beneficial to the area. It's going to keep cars further removed from where we expect there to be the most pedestrian activity. Well, I was expecting to go over the development agreement, but as I mentioned, that has been approved. So we thank you very much for that. We believe that that is going to be put to very good use in the village and will be used for maintenance of parks and for other purposes that will improve the particular area. And again, we believe this is the project that's going to activate the area, bring eyes onto the street, make the area safer in the evening hours. I think the area is somewhat underpopulated given the adjacency of the Little Farm trailer park and the fact that the parts of the city of Miami to the south are also developed with a lot of older non-conforming buildings. There should be more activity between the Little River Canal and Biscayne Boulevard, and I think that this project is going to make that happen, together with, of course, hopefully your new skate park that will bring people to this same street. It really has the potential of becoming an interesting walk from Biscayne all the way down to the Little River area. I'd like to show you this is the variance issue. As you can see, the one entrance provides the access to the parking for residents. That's the entrance on the north. The entrance on the south is for loading and other similar uses, access to the fire pump and things, main electrical room. So they're really different entrances for different purposes. And we believe that that also supports the variance because they're not really doing the same thing. They're for a different intended purpose. And again, it's going to free up the corner and make it more pedestrian friendly than it otherwise would be. In every other respect, again, the project complies with Z5. So we think this is doing everything that your village plan wants to see in this area. And it's consistent with your code. We thank Mr. Mullarat because many of his comments have been incorporated, and I think it's made for a much better project. And the Barrington brothers are excited to make this their first project in the village. If you have any other questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ben, so much for this. Juan, if you could please go ahead and give us your staff report, and then I'll open up to the comments to the council and questions.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Juan Muyerat, Plus Rubia Design. This application is an application for a building on Z5, which is general urban. The applicant is requesting a site plan and special exception approval, together with a variance to that special exception for a multifamily housing at 471 Northeast 83rd Street. Again, the annexed area, as you all know it. The code of ordinance, it meets and exceeds most of the requirements of the zone as it's written in the form-based code, as stated by the applicant's attorney. Safe from that ingress and egress, those driveways that are on the side of the building. Planning and zoning sees no objection. In fact, we recommend approval of the project. Essentially, just for everybody's peace of mind and clarification, any building that exceeds 10,000 square feet requires a special exception. So we're not doing a special exception because this building is not consistent with the code. The code calls for that special exception to make sure that there's enough scrutiny for large buildings such as this one by both us and the council, as well as the residents. So with that, planning recommends approval. I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So we have two resolutions, 2020-10, which is the special exception allowing this multifamily. And then we have 2020-09, that is the vehicular entrance variance. Is there a question for our planner, for the applicant, or for the attorney or manager from the council with either one of these resolutions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to do one at a time. Is there a motion to adopt 2020-10, which is a special exception adopting the multifamily housing located at 471 Northeast 83rd Street?
Motion to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt 2020-10 made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Urban. Is there a motion to adopt 2020-09?
I'll make a motion to adopt, Madam Mayor.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. The vote would be for each individually. So we have a motion and a second for 2020-10. So the vote should take place on that, and then we'll do the second.
I'm actually gonna open up briefly for public comment for both, but I wanted to accept both and then vote separately. Can I do that?
No, they should be separate.
Okay, that's fine. So I will go ahead and I'll ask for public comment on 2020-10, which is the special exception for the multifamily housing located at 471 Northeast 83rd, which is the plans that we just saw from Ben Fernandez. Sir, are there any public comments at this moment? Okay, seeing none. I don't see any hands raised. Any other questions from the council to our planner, attorney, manager, or applicant? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
There is a resolution 2020-09, which addresses a variance to the special exception. Is there a motion to adopt 2020-09?
I'll make a motion to adopt 2020-09.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Urban, second by Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
There's a motion to adopt 2020-09, which is the approval of the variance for the distance between vehicular entrances, which is less than 60 feet. Is there any comments from the public on this resolution? Okay, hearing none. Any comments from the council or questions to the planner, to the attorney, to the manager, to the applicant? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, may I have roll call?
Roll call. Councilperson Perrella.
Yes.
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, congratulations, Ben. Congratulations, Arthur and Ken. Arthur and Ken, did you guys want to say anything before we move on? If so, you can raise your hand. Where are you? Somebody raise their hand.
Hi, am I on with everybody?
Doing great, thank you. How are you, Arthur?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Just wanted to share my thanks to both the council and the residents. We've had a great experience working with you all, and are really looking forward to moving this project further along and getting into the ground. So thank you all for your support.
You got it. Congratulations to you and Ken, and I look forward to seeing you guys again, and thank you for your patience. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Congrats, Ben.
Have a great evening.
You too. Alrighty, we are moving on now to resolution, what is the next one? The 2020-12?
Yes.
Yes, resolution 2020-12, which is a special exception for a recreation facility located at 533. If I can please have the attorney read the title into the record.
A resolution of the Mayor and Village Council of El Portal, Florida, granting a special exception for a recreational facility located at 533 Northeast 83rd Street and 561 Northeast 83rd Street in Zone 5, Urban Center Zone, in the Village of El Portal, known as the Skate Park, on application by the Deck Miami LLC, providing for findings, providing for conditions, providing for appeal, providing for violation of conditions, providing for an effective date.
Okay, do we need to give a little bit of background on this? Does the council need a little background on this special exception? Hearing none, let's first, is there a question from the council to the planner, to the attorney, or to the manager before I bring the applicant up? And we're going to be bringing up Jonathan, Kyle. Okay, hearing none, let's bring in Jonathan to give a presentation of the application, please.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh.
Jonathan.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
So I was unaware that I had to give a presentation, but I can share a frontal view of what the location looks like. Let me start my video here. Oh, I don't know how to share the screen on Zoom. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Share content. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, so our concept is to bring a skate park that creates a whole learning environment as well as a commercial environment that's all relating with skateboarding. The idea is to bring in shipping container pods, as you can see on the sides of the awning. That's to be able to cover for shade, and then a shade structure so that we can host events, whether it's rain or shine, so that the community can enjoy and watch, whether it be pro level events or community style events. The space features a park that's available so that the community and the rest of South Florida or the rest of the country can use as a destination to El Portal. I guess I would prefer to answer some more questions or to anybody that has them. Otherwise, we're very excited to bring this project to El Portal. We've been building skate parks worldwide for several years now, and so this is a new play on a new kind of skate park where generally skate parks are always built and they don't have the right infrastructure to be able to captivate people for many hours in a day. They're generally just built to go and use as a skate park, and that's it. So this becomes an event space, a community space, a space where kids can actually have an opportunity to learn, because we'll have a whole educational program running out of it, and then also a space for other things as well.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask Juan to give us a staff report on the project, and then I'll open up for questions and comments from the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What you have in front of you is an application for a commercial use on Z5, which is permitted. It's for a skate park, as the applicant stated. It is a project that sits on two separate lots, one of which is already a parking lot and parking area, and I'll mention why. I'll tell you in a minute why I mentioned that specifically. The building has several issues that we have been working with the applicant on, and we see a great potential for a commercial use here, as essentially as an interim use for a future redevelopment of the site, similar to the Cavista, which is the project that you have just seen to the west of this property. The two properties that are abutting each other, one of them is where the skate park will be, and the other one, as I said, will be the parking. The parking is owned by a separate owner. And this is important to note, in part because of the potential improvement to that parking area does not comply with the code. Now, we've been going back and forth on how this should comply, and given the fact that it's currently already a parking area and that it is not owned by the same people, but it's a lease, it would be an improvement on the existing condition of said parking area. So the issues that we're facing with this application are, number one, the parking being too close to the street and therefore not creating a proper frontage. Something that in working with the applicant we've been able to improve, so there is landscaping in the front, and again, the one thing that will not that does not quite comply with the code, but it is a grandfathered use for a separate property owner, is the location of the parking within 70 feet of the frontage. The second issue that we faced, and again, this is quite unique because I don't think there's many codes in many municipalities that look at skate parks. And skate park obviously is a active recreational use that could be either indoor or outdoor. In the case of this application, it's semi-indoor, semi-outdoor with a cover on top, but with an opening in the front. And so the second issue that you will see in the report is that it does not comply with the 80% minimum primary frontage that is required on the street. And that's important because essentially when you don't have a building that faces the street, it means that you break that frontage. It doesn't have that continuity that a street typically wants to have, and that makes pedestrians comfortable. The reason why we have we think that this is appropriate is, again, because a skate park is not a typical use, and even though in a typical building you would want units or retail to front the street, in this case what you want is the activity to be fronting the street, and therefore this transparent frontage makes sense. And that is why, again, it's not an exception, it's really an interpretation of the code for a use that it's not coded, let's say, in not just this zoning code, but in many others. Those are really the two form-based issues that we found. Again, through the interpretation of one, because we feel that it's actually better to have it transparent so that there is that interaction between the outside and the inside, we feel that it is actually an improvement on what it would have been a blank wall. And the second one, the parking, we feel that it's an improvement on the existing parking area that exists, and therefore, Madam Mayor and Council, we recommend approval of this item, and I will answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Juan. At this time, I will motion to the council. Is there any question for the applicant or for Juan at this time? Okay, hearing none. Jonathan, I actually have a question. So in the latest drawings that we received right before the March 31st meeting, everything looked fantastic. My only question was the signage. I understand that I took a look and I went to see if skate park, if the name was skate park, if it's skate park Miami. For example, I know Cristo Rey is Cristo Rey Miami, and that's their legal entity name. Skate park, I didn't see that. So my concern is, and I actually went to the site today and I took some pictures of the soon-to-be Cavista down the road, and as well as skate park. With skate park and where it's exactly going to be off of 83rd, it's the beginning to our annexed area. And my thought is, when I saw your sign and I saw skate park Miami, you know, and I know when I first met you and the manager, I asked if that was going to be permanent in terms of the name Miami, or is it going to be a consideration to put El Portal, because that property is in El Portal. And while I didn't get the direction there, and then I mentioned it again at the planning and zoning meeting. So my question to you is that signage that you sent us final? Because if it is, I have a little bit of a concern, and I'm hoping that we can work through it, because back in 2013, it took a lot to get this area annexed. There was a lot of work that went through it. It didn't come easy at all. It was at a time where Miami-Dade County was not granting any municipality any annexation. And after much work through the manager then and a former council person that assisted, we were able to annex this whole area. Hence why we have the opportunity to have you to be a part of our community, as well as the future development of the Cavista. And while during your presentation and today, you also mentioned being a part of the community, and the community is El Portal, it's not Miami. So I would like to hear a little bit about your signage, if that's fine, because I don't know if the council members reviewed it when we received it back for the March 31st meeting, but it does say skate park Miami on the bottom.
Yeah, so the name of the park is Skatebird. Skatebird. We used Skatebird because of the influence of El Portal. We truly love it, and that's why the logo is actually a peacock, which is what the bird of El Portal is. We call it Skatebird Miami only because in terms of the international scope or the recognition, outside of South Florida, people know Miami, and Miami is Miami-Dade County, you know. That's why we've had it there. The other, if El Portal is super important, I'm I'm open to hearing your suggestions. I think I incorporated both Miami-Dade County and El Portal by utilizing the bird, but I'm open to hearing other suggestions.
You know, I really don't have any suggestion except that it's in El Portal. It's not Miami. I don't know if, I'll give you an example. Back when I first met Cristo Rey, and part of the conversation, even with Cavista, when I met with them, as far as you know what the wording would be and all that, you know, Cristo Rey, if and when they would come to fruition, are going to put El Portal, because there are an El Portal, even though Cristo Rey Miami is the legal entity name. It's going to be in El Portal. When I'm driving down 83rd Street, as I think of what this future is going to be like for this whole area, you drive down 83rd, you're going to see, and you come, if you're heading from east-west, you're before the Cavista. So you are the tip of El Portal. You are the southern tip we annexed. So it's going to be your park. And to me, it breaks my spirit and community spirit that I'm going to drive down 83rd in a year from now, and it's going to say Skatebird Miami. It's not Miami, it's El Portal.
Right. So how about if it says Skatebird Miami and El Portal?
I will be amenable to that. I think that's a reasonable, as long as El Portal is not like, you know, in tiny font, you know, so it's in a reasonable font. I think that, listen, you can Google El Portal in terms of values. I know you're right. I understand that in all your collateral, you're going to want to say Miami. I've owned the business for 13 years. I understand what Miami signifies in terms of you know, bringing in international travel and what have you. But Skatebird Miami in El Portal, I would be amenable to that. And I would say thank you.
I also have an extra thing. I'm actually, it's not a guarantee yet, but I'd like to, so that everybody can get excited. But it looks good, and coronavirus may be bringing something positive for this. Is the Olympic qualifiers, the Olympics for skateboarding got postponed a whole year. And we were actually trying to bid before this all started, since we've been doing it for almost like 6 months, trying to get the park open. We had bid for one of the Olympic stops, and we weren't awarded it because the unknowing where it was going to be. But now we have an opportunity to maybe be the stop for the Olympic qualifier for next year for 2021. So hopefully El Portal will get some really good television coverage.
Hey, that's just, no, and I think that's fantastic, and anything we can do to help you there, that's great. But you know, again, it just goes back to, it's just sentimental, and it means a lot. And again, I've been here for a little while, and I recall that process, and I would hate to get a call to be like, you let that happen? Like, how can it say Miami? And I specifically went out there and I drove today, because I wanted to make sure, you know, how that it was all laid out. And I saw where the Cavista would be, and I saw where you would be, and I was heading west on 80th Street, and you're going to be at the beginning. You're right before the Cavista. So if it said the Skatebird Miami in El Portal, I think that that's a fair compromise.
We should just put a big. We should
sounded like, you know, like microscopic font.
We should put a big archway right after the parking lot of our space, and not allow any cars to pass by that way, and make it pedestrian all the way to Cavista. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, Juan's going to be smiling at that. He's all about no cars and making more, you know, pedestrian friendly and bike friendly and a bike path, and and so if I trust Juan's architectural and eye, as well as Camila, and if that's something you can bounce around ideas as you're developing the sort of schematics of it, not that you need our approval. I understand that's within your right as a business owner, but that would be fantastic, and I appreciate that very much. Any comments from the council? Hearing none.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I think, Jonathan, if you can make that happen, I think that would be ideal, to have El Portal. I think it'd be a nice touch. We realize that marketing you know, for marketing purposes, Miami's big, but I didn't even think about that when I saw the drawings initially. But now listening to the mayor and looking at it, you know, I do believe that El Portal should be there. So I thank you for agreeing to do that.
Thank you, Jen. Any other questions from the council to the applicant or to Juan or the attorney or the manager?
I just had one comment. I think this is a very positive project for the village. Talking about signage, I agree it would be ideal. It'd be nice. I think it's great to consider having El Portal, Skatebird El Portal. But as I think about the logic progression of this, so part of the reason we're asking that is because there is currently no identifier on 83rd Street that is any type of a partition of El Portal. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, then do we ask Avista to be sure that, we've already agreed to everything there, so that's, done and gone, so that wouldn't even be an option necessarily. Plus, because it's not the same type of entity, it's not necessarily as, doesn't seem like the need would be there as much for them to have El Portal in their signage. And so I'm sitting here thinking this is stating fairly clearly to us in the village that the village should be placing some sort of signage on 83rd Street or within that area to let the public know that is a part of El Portal. And so while I also agree that I would like to ask Skatebird Miami if they could possibly incorporate, El Portal into their local signage, knowing that their marketing is not necessarily going to be, conducive to that. That would be fantastic. But I would also say that maybe perhaps this is stating to us really clearly that we need some type of proprietary signage for the 83rd Street annex. But that's all good. So that's my only comment. That's it. That's all I got.
I'd be happy to share the amount of money that we would end up paying for a sign, and if you guys want to make it bigger or better, or I'm happy to share the cost at that point as well.
Any other comments from the council to the applicant, planner, or anybody else before I ask for a motion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adopt 2013? Is that correct?
2012.
Sorry, 2012. Yeah, sorry. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2020-12 skateboard park?
I'll make a motion to adopt 2012.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Urban. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilperson Perella. I'm going to open up for public comments. Any public comments from our attendees? All right, Kyle, I see Courtney first and then Maribel.
Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th Street. Quick question as to why this particular property is going to be able to be open till 11 on weeknights when our code requires it to be quiet after 10, and how that will be addressed with everything from cars leaving, etc. Aside from that, I believe this will be an interesting addition to El Portal. Thank you.
Maribel?
Yes. Hi, Maribel Fruitstone, 157 Northwest 88th Street. I wanted to just say that this, I think, is going to be a wonderful addition to El Portal. We had, I think Jonathan is his name, he brought up the idea of the design, and there was an entrance, a grand, large entrance with signage at one time welcoming people into El Portal that was torn down. So that might be an idea to incorporate, or as Councilperson Urbam had suggested, to put another welcome to El Portal sign and then have his skatebird behind. But I think it's a really exciting addition. to El Portal, and I'm so glad that it's finally coming to fruition. So thank you so much for your time and for your consideration of our little village.
Thank you, Maribel. I'm going to go to Norman and Juan with regards to the code in T5. Seeing that this is not T4 of the noise ordinance, I don't know if the timing for having activities later. So I'm going to defer to the attorney on that right now, or to Juan, with regards to being closer to Biscayne Boulevard. And it is T5.
Yeah, so the, Madam Mayor, the code stipulates that essentially I'll read it verbatim. The operation of any such set instrument, photograph, machine, or device between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Friday through Friday and Saturday. In other words, 10 a.m. Seems to be, other than Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. seems to be the latest time. This is from the noise ordinance. It's not about the hours of operation, it's about noise.
Okay. Now you're saying, you meant 10 p.m. You don't mean 10 a.m., right?
So, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
But again, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is about noise. It's not about the hours of operation. And it's not specific to any zone. This is general to the whole village.
Got it. My question to the applicant, can you reiterate, Jonathan, your hours of business?
What's that?
Can you reiterate the hours of business?
Yeah, we had agreed with zoning to have our hours of operation ordinance was. So the same hours that you hear in terms of where noise can't be done, that's how our hours of operation would be. So Sunday through Sunday. Juan, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have my notes in front of me, but Sunday to Thursday from 8 a.m. until 10, and then on Fridays and Saturdays until midnight.
Yes, but again, this is about noise. I mean, I'll defer to the attorney if he has a different interpretation. My understanding that this is with regards to music and generally to noise. So it's not really about closing the business at that time. That's what we have in the code.
Okay. I will defer to Norman also, but as long as the application stipulates what your business hours, but that you're going to comply with the noise ordinance.
Yeah.
That's correct. I mean, the noise ordinance becomes a code enforcement issue, not an hours of operation issue. So to the extent that the facility or the business, just like any other business, is violating that ordinance, it becomes a code enforcement issue. So, you know, I don't have the application in front of me as to what the hours of operation is, but I think I understood the applicant to say that they're simply going to tailor their hours of operation to have it consistent with the noise ordinance so that they will not be making or be running afoul with the code enforcement issue outside those time periods.
And for clarity purposes, Jonathan, I believe you just stated that, but can you state that for the record too as well?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. We are going to comply with the noise, or we're going to utilize the noise ordinance so that we don't make noise that'll disrupt the community or what have you.
Okay. Is there any other public comments? We're still in public comments. Okay, here I don't see any hands raised. I'm going to close public comments and open up to the council. Is there any remaining questions from the council to the applicant, to the attorney, or to the planner or manager? All right, seeing that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilperson Varela,
Yes.
Councilperson Erba,
Yes.
Councilperson Roman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you. I have a question. Is the building department open at this time in the village?
Well, at 8:33 in the evening, no. No, just kidding.
No.
My recommendation to you is call the manager, email the manager, and
Okay.
guide you accordingly what the hours are going to be as we move forward, because she can answer if you like with regards to our Christy,
Okay.
I'll leave it on you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Congratulations. Have a good night. Thank you for your patience.
Nice.
Norman, I-7, Resolution 2020-13.
Resolution of the Mayor and Village Council of El Patel, Florida, supporting the position of the Miami-Dade County Legislative Delegation that the state of Florida and applicable legislative and executive officials take all measures to allow applicants to apply for reemployment benefits retroactively to the date the applicant lost their job following the declaration of state of emergency by the Florida governor, and further resolving that it supports all reemployment measures recommended by the Miami-Dade County Legislative Delegation in their April 7th, 2020 letter to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, providing for transmittal and providing for an effective date, sponsored by Mayor Claudia V. Cubillos.
This has been going around throughout the municipalities. I'm sure, well, I'm not going to say I'm sure, but if those of you that have been following the news with regards to those who have lost employment, those who are trying to apply for unemployment, there has been not only a long wait to receive it, so as because of that long wait, the municipalities were all working together to send these resolutions over to the governor and saying, you know, hey, Claudia Cubillos applied for unemployment and she got qualified on April 22nd, but it needs to be retroactive to the date that that he or she lost her job. So just to help out those that have lost their job during this time, and because the wait has been excruciating long for those who have applied for unemployment. So as a result, I am bringing that forward to all of you. If you have any questions, I'm free to answer any questions.
Again, I have one comment, if I could. I work in the hospitality industry, and I filed for unemployment on March 19th. Back in 2011, I had filed for unemployment as well, so I was a little bit familiar with the system. And this time around was very different because by the 19th already, I was able to get in. And because I was able to get in, I was then able to continue attempting to navigate the system. But probably within 24 to 48 hours after I had initially registered, there were already people trying who were not even able to register for unemployment. And then in addition to that, the process that I've gone through in logging weeks and things like this, there will be days where I will make 40 attempts to just log on to the system, not even necessarily accomplish anything, just to see my file. So I think that this is very important. I don't think it's understood entirely how difficult it is for an incredible amount of people to even just access a system, let alone navigate it. So I feel strongly that this is something that's very important. And I do feel that on the other side of this, people are going to find out really just how incredibly resilient hospitality workers are. So everybody's ready to go. And hospitality workers are the first people in the nation who have sanitation training already under their belt and ready to go. So I just want to say I think this is incredibly important to accommodate the reality of the situation for unemployment right now.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt 2020-13, Resolution 2020-13?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Urban. Is there a second?
Second the resolution, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Open up to public comments. Any public comments on 2020-13? Hearing none, I'm going to close public comments and open it back to the council. If there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilperson Farrell.
Yes.
Councilperson Urban.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Cubillos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go right into the mayor's report. I have an incredibly long report. In the spirit of I'm gonna really try to go through it rather quickly. I'm gonna try to highlight what's most important, even though everything on here I believe is most important, as most of it has to do with what we've been going through in the last 30 days. We did have a town hall yesterday. It was planned at the last minute, but it was a thought that we had on Thursday. But I'm going to run through this, and exactly what I have before me is going to be put on the website. Let's see, a couple of important things. So the last update that was sent out to the villagers and put on the website was as of Wednesday, the 13th, which I believe was Monday, April 13th. So I'm gonna start from Wednesday, April 15th. As of Wednesday, April 15th, the county mayor had put together what he called the New Normal Task Force. The New Normal Task Force was made up of infectious disease doctors, and a director from the Department of Health, the Miami-Dade County League of Cities Executive Board, and the Miami-Dade County staff, and the Miami-Dade County mayor. This New Normal Initiative kickoff meeting was held, and on the call, we had a cross-section of industry and medical experts from Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, and Monroe. On the call, the goal was to formulate a plan for the Miami-Dade County mayor to start open space and what the new normal open space would look like as it relates to the new normal with regards to a social distancing, face covering, and everything to follow the CDC guideline. From this initial kickoff, the county mayor formed 3 task force, and it was to identify rules, regulations, recommendations that would be put forward in an executive order so that the county mayor can start opening up parks, marinas, and golf courses. From this new normal task force kickoff meeting, the county mayor established 3 task force and 3 subcommittees. It was parks, golf course, and marina / beaches. He did emphasize that beaches would be put on the back burner, but it would be part of that subcommittee. These subcommittees met in 3 days, anywhere between 3 to 5 times. Finally, on Saturday, April 16th, the subcommittees presented to the mayor and the infectious disease doctor and Department of Health. During every single call, and I really want to make this as clear as possible, during every single call, there was always an infectious disease doctor and there was always a director from the Department of Health on all the calls, vetting every recommendation that was made. On the subcommittees, you had National Association of Parks, you had owners of golf courses. So in each committee, there were industry experts that were running the subcommittee, and it had one chair. The chair was identified by the county mayor, and it was usually either an industry expert or, an example for the parks, it was the director of Parks and Recreation for Miami-Dade County. The weekend of April 18th and the 19th, the subcommittees presented to the mayor at least a minimum of 2 times each committee. As you all can potentially imagine, the recommendations did not pass the first draft. Finally, on the 4th draft, most of the recommendations were put forward with a thumbs up by not only the industry, the medical experts, but also by the county mayor. By Thursday, April 22nd, a final draft was presented, a final draft for parks, a final draft for marinas, and a final draft for golf was finally adopted and as a final draft that the medical experts in the county accepted. Also simultaneously that week, on the 21st, the mayor, the county office sent out an email that a second initiative group was being established, and this was going to establish interior space. So what would the new normal initiative for interior space look like? That first meeting was held on Wednesday, April 22nd. This comprehensive meeting only had Miami-Dade County cross-industry to include medical experts, business owners, as well as the Miami-Dade County Mayor's New Normal Task Force. From this discussion, the following subcommittees were formed for interior space reopening consideration: hotels, retail, restaurant, real estate, small business, manufacturing, office space, arts and culture, and warehouse logistics. Like the open space for green space, each subcommittee was tasked with drafting a recommended reopening guideline using a phased approach. Each reopening phase needed to include specific language on approach, requirements, communication, and how the new normal guidelines were going to look like. How was it going to be implemented to include social distancing, facial covering, cleanliness on common areas, and cleanliness overall was going to be implemented. I share this all with you because I've had it's been a real privilege and opportunity for me to see all of the background work that the county has been putting forward. And I say this to provide a comfort level to our community that this is what's being done when no one can see. And putting forward guidelines to reopen during this has been a well thought out, methodical process that has been using nothing but data and metrics from the medical experts and the Department of Health. From also this, during this time frame, the subcommittees were designated to have their own meetings, and we all met privately through Zoom. The difference with the interior space as opposed to the outdoor spaces, interior space was much more complicated, much more involved. I had the opportunity to sit in every single subcommittee to really hear out how the process is going and how thorough of this the subcommittees were meeting and really taking into specifics recommendations. The meetings of the subcommittees for all of these industries happened this past weekend. It happened all day Saturday and it was all day Sunday through this same platform, Zoom. So a tremendous amount of respect to all of these industries. Nothing is in a final format. The one industry that I can say is probably closest to what the main task force agreed as moving forward was the arts and culture with regards to their recommendations and their guideline and their requirements and their approach. From that, they're asking the other subcommittees to model what that template looked like. Once this is given the final blessing from the county mayor and the new normal task force, the county has now also hired McKinsey & Associates, which they are an international company that the county hires, and they now vet out everything that's in front of them and how is this all going to be put forward so that it can be put forward in a tier legal and process way for Miami-Dade County. I mean, this is so complete, big picture. But again, I wanted to have the opportunity to share with you all because it's not every day that every single elected official has the opportunity to actually sit in all of this. So I'd be more than willing to answer any questions if you see me offline, because again, this process has been extensive. It's only in the beginning phases, So while at the same time, simultaneously as this was all happening, I did follow through on the 21st, I think 21st of Tuesday was, no, I apologize, the 20th, which was Monday. It had been a month since the county has been delivering food to the El Portal seniors. So I followed through in my Monday call with the county to ensure that our seniors are still receiving meals. They are. I have heard from some seniors that they don't really like some of the meals. So I told them to text me or to call me with what some of the meals that they do not taste so great, but they are very grateful for the meals that they are getting. Not every single senior wanted to be a part of that, but those that are a part of it are still receiving the food. So it's been a month now that our seniors are receiving food. I also want to say that as of April 5th, myself and the chief deliver masks to the seniors as requested. I've delivered in total probably to 7 seniors that have either emailed or called that they need masks, so it's delivered. We have some more if they need it. They can reach out to us. I asked the chief to have the police officers, since we can't visit our seniors right now. They're the most vulnerable in this whole process, and as far as COVID-19, I know that the El Portal police, instead of visiting like they were, they now are calling the seniors. I wanted to also say, Horace, when COVID-19 first, when all of this it sort of hit Miami-Dade County and it became most prevalent was during St. Patrick's. When schools first closed on March 13th, and the week thereafter, almost every school in Miami-Dade County was doing grab-and-go meals. That happened for about a week or two, but as the time went on, they were narrowing down the schools. So since about Tuesday, April 21st, the Miami-Dade County continues to distribute grab-and-go meals for the children, but it's between 4 to 7 on only Tuesdays and Fridays. And the school closest to us that is providing meals is Miami Edison Senior High School, and that's a 6161 Northwest 5th Court. And that is for any Miami-Dade County public school child. It doesn't matter if you're in elementary, if you're middle school and high school. It's for every single Miami-Dade County public school student. They do ask that if the child is not with you when you're picking up the meal, to please have their ID, any type of ID that you may have for the student, to please take the ID with you. And they said, they put in the clause, they will practice social distancing as you're showing the ID to them, but it's a way that they can sort of monitor the distribution of food. But their goal is, and their tagline is, no child will be left hungry. So they're committed to continue that program throughout the school year. As we all know now, school will not be returning this year. Also on an important note is, on April 21st, some of us, and I believe the Vice Mayor also received this email, and the Chief also did, is an email was sent from the Early Learning Coalition regarding childcare for first responders and healthcare workers. Childcare will now be paid for by the Early Learning Coalition if you are a first responder, or if you work for a first responder, or if you're a healthcare worker, or if you're working at a healthcare facility. So you have to apply by going to the Early Learning Coalition actually the email, which would be info@elcmdm.org. And this is regardless of income level, has nothing to do with your income. It simply has to do with whether or not you're a first responder and you're working directly with COVID-19. They are paying for the child's daycare tuition up to the age of 13. So it's pretty much going to be a child care up to the age from 3 months all the way to the age of 13. And you go to info@elcmdm.org and email them and let them know that you're a first responder. So that's another way to try to help the parents who are still having to go to work because they're a first responder, but they do not have a way to pay for their child to go to childcare. They are only paying for May and June. It goes up to July 1st. They have not talked about whether or not they're going to extend it, and it's up to the age of 13. Not only will they help you fill out the application, but they have a list of schools that you can pick and choose from. So if you know anybody that is in as a first responder or as a healthcare, please refer them to info@elcmdm.org. And again, as I said, all of my entire report will be on the homepage of our village website as of tomorrow. Let's see what else. So interior spaces, we met all weekend. On Monday during my Monday morning call with Mayor Jimenez and the Miami-Dade County, we were informed that he was putting forward the executive order to passively open up parks, marinas, and golf. He delivered that press conference on Monday at 4 o'clock, simultaneously and coincidentally at the same time that I had put forward a town hall with the manager and with the chief. The executive order has been signed and it is on our home page. And I encourage, as I said at the town hall yesterday, and I will reiterate again, it's really important that we, and when I say we, I mean we, all of us, take the time to get a real understanding as to what that order contains, what are going to be what we are allowed to do in this first phase and what we are not allowed to do. And I want to say something about this. I had about 4 calls today with different groups, and I've asked the manager and the chief to conduct an in-house training to all of our staff, and I believe we're looking at Thursday to do that because tomorrow, Wednesday, is not possible. One of the things I reiterated on 2 calls today, and I want to reiterate this to the residents, and that is, while we are moving forward with this first phase, it does not mean that it's back to what it used to be. And the reason I say that, because the only way that we are going to go to a phase 2, the only way that all of these organizations, interior spaces, and industries are going to eventually open is if we're really successful with phase 1. Because if we are not successful with phase 1, the county mayor, Mayor Jimenez, has said over and over in all of the calls, it is going to be zero tolerance. If Cinco de Mayo is coming up, Mother's Day is coming up, if it gets out of control in terms of too many parties at the park, parties on boats, more people than what's required or allowed by the ordinance, he has no problem shutting it down again. And he will. In fact, he did it during the last 30 days when the marinas were open, and then he completely closed down the marinas. He has no problem doing that. He does not want to see, or none of us for that matter, want to see a spike after Cinco de Mayo and after Mother's Day. If it would have been up to me, I would have preferred this order to have gone out after Mother's Day. But you know, I'm not the county mayor, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for all the work that he did and all the work that all of us have done to put forward and to help with phase 1 opening. But really, for there to be success, it is going to be on all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean our families, our neighbors, and our communities. Because we are a community, not just here, but we are within our families, within our friends, within our village, and with the people that we know around us, that you go from one park, you go to the other park, because I'm sure all of us travel outside the village to eat, to go to the park, and to visit family and friends. So I wanted to reiterate that, because as I had 2 calls today, and I didn't reiterate that at the town hall yesterday, that's one of the most important components that I can say that will help us get through to a phase 2. The only reason why the county mayor was even allowed the opportunity to form a task force and to allow a reopen to start tomorrow, marinas open up at 6 and the parks open up at 7. The only reason that we even got here is because most of Miami-Dade County did comply. Most of Miami-Dade County, when it was time to stay home, they stayed home. They worked from home. They've had Zoom meetings, and they've been living life as much as they can regularly at home, at completely staying at home as the order said, and going out for essential business, or going out to the grocery store, or going to put gas, or going to pick up medicine, or going to the grocery store. So I cannot repeat that enough. I urge all of you to share this information with your neighbors. I encourage we all to practice what we're saying and really follow what these guidelines are. And again, the guidelines are already, they're signed, and they've been not only on the county website, but they're on the homepage of our village website, right on the right side. You click onto it, and it's going to take you right to it. And as a reminder, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, most of the municipalities, to include the village of El Portal, we follow Miami-Dade County orders, because at the end of the day, while we can input stricter rules, the minimum standard is what Miami-Dade County is going to put in. With that said, I reiterate, tomorrow, passively, the parks, marinas, and the beaches are open passively. Municipalities have the ability to put stricter rules in place. I can say right now that, and I believe the manager in her report will cover what the village will open. I'll give you an example. The city of Miami is not opening the parks yet. City of Doral is opening the parks, but not the basketball courts, not the tennis courts. Miami Gardens opening up, I don't believe all of their parks. So keeping in mind that while Miami-Dade County has said, yes, we can open parks, and the county parks will be open, but the municipalities can always hold a stricter rule, just not less strict than what the county ordinance says. Again, if you have any questions, I will tell you to refer to the attorney, to the manager. You can email or you can call them with regards to any questions, but the ordinance is on the website already. Let's see. Again, my report's really long, but I'm going to put it all. I have laid out an entire April report as far as what the Village of El Portal's emergency management team has done for the entire month of April. And again, I will have that on the village website. Let's see what else. First responders, normal. I'm going to leave that. I think that's it for now. I'm going to close. That concludes my mayor's report. I'm going to now ask the manager to deliver her report, and then we'll take questions. But again, this we put on the website. It's 9 pages long. I was not going to subject you all to 9 pages, but all of it in its entirety will be put in the homepage of the website. Thank you. Ms. Manager.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, as the mayor stated, I'm on the emergency management team, so the report that you just heard from Mayor Cubillos pretty much sums up mine as well, but I also provided an 11-page report to the members of council today outlining the work of the administration during this time for the month of April. And so without reiterating most of those things that I worked on with Mayor Cubillos, I will get to the parts that I think everybody wants to know about, which is the closure of the Village Hall administrative offices and what is happening. As you all know, we closed our administrative offices on March 26th. They are still closed to the public. Essential staffers are working. That is our police department and the emergency management team and public works. Other staff is working remotely from home. That's building department, code enforcement, and office administration, finance. There have been occasions where staff has needed to come into the office to do some work because building department and code enforcement have specialized I think it's some kind of government access that they can only utilize from their computers in the office. So they have come in to try to take care of some work in that capacity. We have had a lot of support from CAP government that's helping us with coordinating inspections for the building department and permits. So our building clerk is working remotely and actually just started taking new plans that are simple plans. Again, these things are a little more complicated because she's working from home and doesn't have that access to the BSNA database that is at the Village Hall. So she will be coming in a couple of days a week to do that. And with that, I am working with the staff to institute a staggered workday for the first 2 weeks of May. I'm a part of the emergency management team, but I'm also part of the managers, the Miami-Dade County Managers Association. We've been working very closely with a lot of things that the mayor described that the mayors are doing. But as managers and administrators for the municipalities, we're doing quite a bit too to administrate, the cities, or to manage the cities in the way they need to be run during this time of emergency, but also we're information sharing. And though we've done the bio cleaning for the Village Hall administrative offices and the police department, we still have to be careful about just who's coming in and who's going out. So I want to institute a staggered work, return to work schedule for staff to come in and work full-time. They're working full-time from home and also undergoing some trainings that have been provided to us from the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust. And so they do have work to do, and they are doing it and reporting in. And we, talk every day and work together on assignments and get things done. But we will start doing a staggered work schedule starting on the 1st, which will be Thursday or Friday. So we will, and then see how that plays out in terms of running with Miami-Dade County as well. Because again, the non-essential staff return back to work. It's not been implemented yet, and we want to follow the county and ensure that we're doing the proper things for our staff, the health and safety of our staff. And then when we open to the public, we want to be prepared for that as well, and institute some safety measures. What I have done is installed 2 safety plexiglass screens for the front office, and we will be cleaning. We still do the bio cleaning every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but our public work and maintenance staff will be doing some every few hours, some cleanings on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well, just to ensure that we keep the space clean and safe for our workers, because our police staff and myself are still coming into the office, as well as finance department. Now we'll move on to public works and the parks. Our passive parks are opening tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. That is the Tequesta Indian Mound, the El Portal Nature Trail, Sherwood Forest Park, and the River Park. They are a part of the Phase 1 new normal reopening of the green spaces per the executive order of Mayor Carlos Jimenez. And we are instituting the requirements for the reopening, which means we will be practicing social distancing, and we hope that our visitors will be doing the same. If not, there are some things that will happen. I mean, we have an enforcement issue, but we want to ensure, I think it's incumbent upon all of us, just as citizens, to ensure that we do what's proper and right for our neighbors' safety and for our own. So there is a requirement to wear safety face covering when you come to the open spaces, to the passive parks, and to maintain 6-foot distance from one another. And there is limited time to spend at the park. There's no congregating or picnicking and those types of things. This is just passive use that would include biking, walking, hiking, jogging, those kinds of things that are not will not promote congregating or playing games or having a team activity or a family picnic. Those will not be allowed. So we will, staff will be assisting and just informing. We come across residents who are utilizing the parks, and the tot lot will remain closed. It is not a passive park. It requires some activity and congregating, and also the cleaning of that park is not something we're at capacity for now, and that is not part of Mayor Jimenez's Phase 1 reopening. So we will wait for Phase 3, which would include a playground like our tot lot. So be aware that we are not opening that, but for now, we will have the other 4 parks that you can enjoy in a passive capacity. And I'm gonna be quick because it's been a long day, but we're happy to get through it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Please notice we have on the nature trail, we'll have arrows. It's a one-way walk path, no two-way traffic allowed. You have to walk going one direction and exit the park at the Northwest 3rd Avenue exit, and then go back around if you want to come back through again or go on back to your home. But it is one-way walking traffic to be utilized at the nature trail, and little arrows have been painted on the path, and there will be flyers posted on the marquees there for any information you may have, or if you want to call the village, well, not call, email us or check the village website, and we'll have those rules on the website as well. And email me anytime if you have any questions. I've been very responsive, and we'll, consider any requests. We are also, we're working remotely, so there are lots of things that we are working on, but just understand that we have to ensure the safety of our staff and our residents. So with that, I'm going to end my report, and if anyone has any questions about anything else in the village or would like to see this 11-page report, feel free to email me. I will provide it. That concludes my report, Mayor.
Mayor Cabillos.
Muted.
Unmute yourself, Mayor. Madam Mayor.
It's been, while we're talking about parks, I want to take this moment and thank Councilperson Roman and Robert Verano and our Public Works, Angel Lopez. Is it Lopez? Lopez. While we were unable to celebrate Arbor Day or Earth Day this year, they took the time and coordinated, and 5 big pines were donated from a South Miami commissioner, and they were planted on Arbor Day this past Friday. So I want to thank the manager for coordinating, our Public Works guy. I want to thank Councilperson Roman with regards to setting that up with Robert, and that was done that Friday morning. So on the park node, they were planted at Sherwood Forest Park. So now we have 5 big pines that are planted there.
And his name is Angel Hernandez, our Public Works.
Angel Lopez is one of our police officers, right?
Right. And so they were Florida pines, natives, and very, very nice. They look really cute. And I know Councilperson Roman also put out a video that, shows the planting and our celebration. This is what we have to do now that, in this day and time. So this is how we celebrate.
Norman, report.
Yes, I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to highlight 2 things. The first is, as I mentioned, I believe at our last meeting or the meeting before, the Police Benevolent Association has implemented an impasse action against the village and implemented it through the Public Employees Relations Commission. This morning, we had a brief pre-hearing with the magistrate. Christia attended. The hearing is going to be set for July 1st. The goal is to have the hearing in person. Obviously, if that cannot take place, it'll be done virtually. I bring it up because as we get closer to the hearing, I'm going to send each of you all a synopsis or summary as to what the council's obligation will be once the magistrate makes her ruling after the presentations. Essentially, without getting too far into it now, once the magistrate makes her ruling, the losing side or party or disgruntled side will have an opportunity to make objections to or her recommendations, and thereafter can bring the matter to the full council for your final decision on the outstanding issue. Now, the issue, Councilman Perella, is that the PBA had requested a step salary retention plan, which the village rejected, and they implemented the impasse procedures. So that hearing, when it comes before you all, will be quasi-judicial in nature. It will be considerably more formal than what we are used to. So I want to make sure that as we get closer, everyone will become familiar with that process. The second comment I'd like to add in my report, and the last comment, is that since the last meeting, I have been working continuously with the attorney for Cristo Rey to prepare for our next planning and zoning meeting, because that application is going to be coming back to you all next month. And we will have a slightly amended agreement. The agreement will take into account some of the comments that we've received from individual council persons, and also, more importantly, or as importantly, from some of the community members. Mr. Kirk provided comments that we've looked at and workshopped in hopes of getting a more streamlined agreement that you all will have to consider at the May council meeting. So that's my report.
Alrighty, thank you. At this time, we don't have any unfinished business or general orders. I do want to thank Chief Magnuson, Code Enforcement Amir King, Councilperson Louis Perella, and Councilperson Roman for turning in an article for the newsletter. I wanted to get one in. I want to get an article. I want to get a newsletter out earlier this time so that we can have in there information on hurricane preparedness. So I requested and I got them all on time. So thank you. With that said, I wanted to open it up to good and welfare. Anybody in good and welfare, please raise your hand to be acknowledged. We have a few residents left. All righty, no good and welfare. Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
Second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, our April regular council meeting virtually concludes at 9:15 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys take care. Have a good night.